everybody, how's it going? This is the first ever episode of the Imperial Remnant Broadcast, brought to you by the guys at Fandom Empire, and a joint production of the Rogue Sons of Star Wars podcast. Without further ado, let's introduce everybody. Each and every week we bring to you a roundtable, hopefully of five guys, more weeks than not. First up, one of the co-hosts of the Rogue Sons of Star Wars podcast, Thaden. How's it going, man?
Hey, it's going pretty well. I had to hurry through some work to get here, but, you know, it's all good. I'm excited to be on the show.
I have been itching to talk Star Wars basically all weekend with some of the rumors that have come out, and just to sink our teeth into it and see what it tastes like. Also joining us, he is a veteran. He is the former co-host of the Star Wars Wastelands podcast, among other podcasts that weren't quite as successful in the Star Wars realm. A mainstay at Fandom Empire. It's Johnny. What's happening, man?
Oh man, there's not a lot happening tonight. You know, I'm excited to be here and talk about all these things, and I'm hoping that my top 5 list does not get revised. It has been revised. I hope it does not get revised further.
You know, with that line alone, I was already debating, are you more Lex Luthor or are you more Darth Vader without the helmet? And I'm leaning towards you're more Darth Vader without the helmet at the moment. So, I mean, both are cool. Both are cool. I dig it. I got the Vader, the little pop, hard to see on the small screen back here where the helmet's lifting. 40th Anniversary Empire. Also joining us this evening, a mainstay here from now on, it is Kieran from the Rogue Sons of Star Wars podcast. What's happening, man?
Nothing, man. I'm having a great day. I'm ready to go, ready to talk some Star Wars.
Awesome stuff. And last but certainly not least, the man that helps keep the engine ticking here at Fandom Empire. He is a former member of the Channel 1138 team. He is a mainstay here at Fandom Empire. I don't know if he brought this fully back into production or not, but I'm going to say former for now. The former host of the Blue Milk podcast. It's Tommy B. What's happening, dude?
No, I never got back. It's been too busy. Blue Milk Cantina podcast. It's been a busy, up and down day on my end, buddy, but I gotta tell you, I am hyped. I am thrilled. I am very, very excited for this new project, new podcast of ours. It's great to be here. How are you hanging there today?
You know, it's finding a balance between. I've been off work for so long that basically after we got off because of that thing that's happening, that pandemic thing that's happening that I can't call by name here on YouTube. I have never had to juggle both at once. So now I'm getting sort of a taste of what it's like to, we have multiple different shows now at Fandom Empire, a growing, fan base, with including our old fan base from our previous Star Wars projects, and then work and the baby, and I'm learning really quickly here that maybe it's not going to be as easy as I thought. But in it for the long haul. Love the fact that we're doing a roundtable style show with each and every one of you. Just want to let everybody know, whether you're listening live or you're listening to it on podcast format. If you are, you noticed that the Star Wars Renegades Anchor and Apple Podcast and all that good stuff has been changed to the Imperial Remnant Broadcast. And if you still want to listen to Star Wars Renegades, which in fact still does exist, you will have to become a Patreon subscriber. Once a month, we're going to put out an episode of Star Wars Renegades, and that's where you'll be able to listen to it. The Imperial Remnant Broadcast is our main Star Wars podcast here on the network. This is how it works. We have a lineup of segments on the show. We're going to talk Kenobi. We're going to talk Kathleen Kennedy. We're going to talk The Mandalorian Season 2. We're going to talk Knights of the Old Republic. We're going to get into a fan vote that we're going to start today, and then we're going to look at the results of it on next week's episode, a fantasy matchup of sorts. And then we're going to have some trivia to end the night. And the Death Watch has been taken or stolen from Star Wars Renegades and brought over here and modified a little bit. Our 3 contestants tonight, Kieran, Johnny, and Thaden, have no idea what level it's been modified to. Tommy and I, on the other hand, are in the know-how. So we'll drop the surprise on them in just a little bit. For the live audience, if you want to chime in at any point, feel free to send in a super chat. Now, because they're super chats, they don't necessarily have to be Star Wars. You're donating to the channel. But we would advise you to make them Star Wars questions, or else it's probably not going to be worth your time because you're not going to get much of an answer if they're not Star Wars questions. But I'm all for sprinkling in a little bit of other fandom when we can, but try to keep it Star Wars. Our chat mod, Frank Riker, is in the house. How's it going, Frank? I know you're a Star Wars guy. You won't catch Toronto Freddy dead here. That's not going to happen. He's not a Star Wars guy. But without further ado, one last thing. You'll notice all of our sound bites tonight are the normal Fandom Empire sound bites. Starting next week, we will have exclusive Imperial Remnant Broadcast sound bites. I'm going to start sending these guys clips from Audio Jungle, and we'll pick out an intro that makes sense, one that we can purchase and use exclusively that we'll have the rights to. That's probably the best way to do it to avoid copyright issues. Without further ado, though, gentlemen, I just want to go around the table. This is episode number 1. And keep it brief if you can. What is your favorite Star Wars movie and why? And you'll notice this was not even on the show notes because I wanted to throw you guys under the bus to begin with. First up, Johnny, man.
Empire, because top 3 movie of all time, period.
I mean, that's my answer, only best movie of all time, period. But yeah, I get you. I feel you. All film's subjective. Kieran, how about you, man?
For me, it is 100% Return of the Jedi. And I think I told this before, but I used to think when I was a kid it was the only Star Wars movie. So, because it was the only one I had.
That's how I felt about Star Wars A New Hope. I think I watched it, 37 some odd times on TBS Superstation before I was finally like, oh, the story continues. Shocker.
I think episode 6 is the only part. Did you think they just threw a random dart at a number board and said, all right, this is going to be episode 6?
In his defense, I would not be surprised if the first version of Return of the Jedi that he watched does not have episode in the space crawl.
It's possible, but also being like, well, then why would they start it at 6? Well, why did they start it at 4? It's simply unbelievable, right?
Yeah. I mean, Lucas
I don't know.
Lucas was out there, that's for sure. Thaden, how about you, man?
My favorite Star Wars movie is The Last Jedi. And I say this always. It's actually like, for me, it's like a perfect movie. But, it does stuff that lots of people don't like to characters they do like. So, yeah. I understand disliking it, but everything it does was, like, perfect for me. It's exactly how I would have made something, which you guys might kind of dislike.
Normally, I'd probably jump on someone for that, but it's my 12-year-old's favorite Star Wars movie, too. So, at the end of the day, I can't.
But he's 12.
Yeah. He
oh,
has
boy, here we
really
go.
good taste.
Take it out on each other in the Death Watch, guys. Tommy B.
My favorite Star Wars movie is not The Last Jedi. It is A New Hope. If I have to rank the trilogies, OT does come up to the top, although I do appreciate them for different reasons, and I typically do elevate A New Hope for the top above all of them, not because of any particular duel or scene or anything like that, just as a finished product. And it really sucks you into the whole atmosphere, and it's your introduction to the galaxy far, far away. So definitely A New Hope for me.
I'm legitimately surprised that I never thought we would get this. We had 4 different movies listed there in our favorites. That, to me, whether you like any of them or you don't like any of them, or certain ones, pardon me. That's impressive to have 4 different movies out of 5 people. That's good. I also want to let everybody know, bear with us. During this episode, you're probably going to hear me call out names if no one takes the ball and runs with it in terms of conversation. We will catch up with their chemistry. This is our first official episode, the 5 of us doing it together. These things take a little time to go, and we'll do it. But let's dive in to our first segment, which is going to be news from a galaxy far, far away. Standard soundbite. How about that? All right, guys. So in this week's news, and we sort of combine news and rumors, and we'll let you know what's what. But I'm going to let everybody know now, we're going to be dealing with some sensitive material. We're diving into some Kenobi reports that from all the back checking and fact checking that I've done in the last few days seem to be pretty spot on. So we're getting into the nitty gritty about what the Kenobi series is actually about. We've talked a lot of Kenobi, but at the end of the day, other than the fact we talked about we'd like to see him have to go through his PTSD sort of thing that he's going through from the Clone Wars and losing everyone, we've never really known exactly which way the story's going. We heard things about the Sand People. We've heard various things, but now it seems like some concrete information has come out. Not only did the Kessel Run transmissions guys, which most of the time they're spot on, but they've had some misses, first came out with the report, but since then the report has been backed up, whether you like the guy or not, by the dude at Making Star Wars. It's been backed up by the guys at Star Wars Newsnet and John Hoey, and those guys are pretty spot on what they do. So this, again, you got like your minor spoiler alert out there, is what the Kenobi series is apparently about. And it almost sounds too good to be true, guys, because I'm so used to not getting what I want from Disney. The Kenobi series, which at first was supposed to be small scale, just Obi Wan Kenobi in the desert, really dealing with his stuff, and he'd deal with some local issues, and then maybe find out who Darth Vader is through other means. That Darth Vader's still alive through other means, because that's got to happen in the series. It turns out that they've decided to say, you know what, screw the small scale, we're going big scale with this. And the Kenobi series is in fact about the hunt for Obi Wan Kenobi. That's right, this series is going to be the Empire hunting Obi Wan Kenobi, and it's believed that it is not going to take place on Tatooine for the most part. Tatooine will be a portion of it, but at the end of the day, if they thought Obi-Wan was on Tatooine, well, you don't get the original trilogy, so it makes sense for him to have to get shuttled off Tatooine for some reason. My bet, pure speculation here, guys, is that he's going to Alderaan, because we know they're casting young Leia, they're casting young Luke. Those two can't meet up. He's got to go off the planet for some reason. So the story's about the hunt for Obi-Wan Kenobi. We know that Hayden Christensen is returning to be Anakin Skywalker in Clone Wars flashbacks. Now, this is a scoop, Johnny, that we talked about, I think, last week or the week before. You and I have been talking about this scoop since 2015. The whole Obi-Wan Kenobi show, or movies at that time, are going to feature prominent Clone Wars flashbacks. Now, however they got there. I'm for it. Let's just go around the table. What do you guys think? The hunt for Obi-Wan Kenobi. Darth Vader will be in the show. Commander Cody will be in the show. Anakin Skywalker will be in the show. And there's a chance the show may, in fact, come out fall to winter next year instead of 2022. That remains to be seen. Kieran, why don't you bat leadoff, man?
I mean, I heard this rumor, and I'm happy about it. But the one thing that concerns me, and the question that I have, is there going to be a meeting between Darth Vader and Obi-Wan, and how's that gonna throw everything off from like them meeting again later? I'm worried that they're going to make a misstep and try to create something really cool that destroys some of the canon or destroys some of how we think everything goes. But I mean, it sounds like it's going to be awesome. Like that's my only concern is is Anakin going to, or Darth Vader going to find Obi-Wan, and what is a meeting between them going to look like? That kind of scares me.
I mean, those concerns are warranted, but I know there's some parts of the fan base that have clamored for this for years. I'm on the fence about it because people read into that line that Vader tells Luke when Luke's trying to get Obi-Wan to turn, Obi-Wan once thought as you did. And we never really seen that. I mean, you get it a tiny little bit in Revenge of the Sith where he's trying to talk Anakin out of... I don't know if he's trying to talk Anakin out of what he's doing, because at that point he's already committed to going and killing him, basically. But a lot of people believe they had to have met up one more time in between there for Obi-Wan to really try to turn Vader from the dark side. I've always thought that that's possible, but I've always thought, you know what, if all we get from that is what he says before the battle in Revenge of the Sith, I'm cool with it. Whether they end up fighting again, I hope it's closer to Revenge of the Sith than the show takes place than A New Hope, because if it's 8 years before A New Hope, then it's kind of like, oh, okay, it hasn't been almost 20 years since we've seen one another. And then I've heard people suggest that maybe it's an almost meeting that happens, you know, where they're around the same place and they do in fact see one another, and there's about to be like a showdown and something interrupts it and it doesn't happen. Which might seem like a tease to some people, but I think there's like an emotional level that could really play with the heartstrings there. Johnny, over to you, man. What do you think about all this? It seems like it's finally coming to life. I'm looking out your window now, and all I can think of from the right side of, or I guess to your left, is it looks like you're by the Oshawa Lakeview Hospital.
Well, it'd be pretty awkward for a Skype-generated background to be that accurate.
Yeah.
But I digress. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, because it does open up a lot of loopholes in possibilities that I don't particularly like. You know, I can tolerate Obi-Wan leaving Tatooine for the right reasons. I mean, I guess it depends on how early in this is, right? I mean, that's kind of the issue for me, and it can't be too soon because I don't think he'd leave Tatooine while Luke is still really young. You know, so I think it'd have to be somewhere in the neighborhood of...
Unless something's up with Leia.
Yeah, but I think it would have to be something extreme to the nth. And I don't know how possible that is if it's an Imperial threat. You know, because there was no strife there. You know, to what we know, you know, Bail was fairly dutiful officially. You know, I mean, unofficially, of course, he was the bee's knees, but you know, I mean, officially they were good. You know, they were on good terms. So I don't see where an Imperial threat would come from. I mean, unless it's some sort of, you know, splinter cell, I guess might be the right phrase here. But I don't know. Until we know more about what the reason he ends up there is, it's hard for me to say how it makes sense. But, you know, I don't know. I struggle so much because, you know, the timeline is so...
I think this is why we're getting a limited series. I think they've carved out a story that is basically one and done.
I think it kind of has to be, because there's so little in Obi-Wan's story that makes sense for him to do. Like, you can only have him deal with the external threats so many times, and Rebels took the big piece off the board.
Yeah.
You know, when they did the Maul story and put that to a definitive end, there's no threat left. You know, not really. Not that's an Obi-Wan specific threat. You know, whereas Maul, you probably could have made, you know, multiple season series showcasing Maul finding Obi-Wan, chasing Obi-Wan, and then battling Obi-Wan. You could have gotten multiple seasons out of that. But if this is what ends up being, I don't want to say monster of the week because that's not the correct phrase, but, you know, threat of the season, you can only really do that once, maybe twice before you start going, what's even happening here? So I don't know. There's too many question marks still that it's nice that some of the things we speculated on and predicted over the course of the last, you know, 5 years are starting to come to pass, but there's still too many question marks for me to start being definitively happy or definitively anything.
I mean, everything Star Wars nowadays, I take with cautious optimism. I just have to. But I think there's a lot of people feeling the way you are right now, man. There's people that are afraid that they're going to go too far with it. And for me, the one thing we know, at least according to this report, and we have no reason to believe it's not accurate, is that this is in fact the Empire hunting Obi-Wan. And if it's not Tatooine, and maybe this is the reason he never leaves Tatooine again, is he learns his lesson. You know, oops, I fucked up. I left. They found me. They're hunting me. Next time I get back to Tatooine, you know, that can in itself be a story in the show, is how the hell does he get back to Tatooine without being tracked back there and get back to Luke? Which I find, you know, enticing. It's almost like a spy espionage type thing that's going to have to go down. Thaden, what are your thoughts on all this, man? It's nice to get a different variety of opinions in here. And I do see a lot of the fan base is conflicted in terms of what to think about this big picture-wise.
I actually really like it. I think as long as they said it early enough, I don't really have any issues with Obi-Wan leaving Tatooine and even encountering Vader. I wouldn't necessarily want him to. I think it should be something like a close, almost encounter, like you were saying earlier. But I think there's not necessarily a reason the Empire should think Obi-Wan's dead. Anakin knows he didn't kill Obi-Wan, and no one has seen him after, so no one thinks he's dead, really. So it would make sense if they send, like, Inquisitors or something like that after him, and I'd really like to see that, and that would be an easy way to get us a lightsaber duel and not break what happens with him and Vader later on. So, like, I think there's enough wiggle room as long as they do it early in his stay on Tatooine, because I don't want him to be gone from Tatooine, like, right before A New Hope or anything. I feel like by then he should just be stuck in the desert for like almost 2 decades. I think the limited series thing that's why I'm so content with this.
I think they got to leave at least 10 years here. I mean, I know they're just numbers guys, but you got to still make sure you don't screw with George's vision. I get it. He doesn't own the thing anymore, but I think that from the reports, he's leaving Tatooine. Why, we don't know. I'm just assuming it's Leia. It's got to be something that's urgent enough to make him go, oh, well, I got to go do this. And it's got to have, you know, such bad effects that he knows never to do it again. Unless, again, it ends up being Leia, which is in A New Hope. Tommy, where are you with this, man? I know you and I have talked for years about this Kenobi project that's been rumored. Seems like we have details. You like them, you don't like them. Why?
I am very nervous at the premise of an actual meeting with Vader. I do feel that the duel on Mustafar was it as far as trying to have Anakin turn back to the light. It was done. His decision was made, and he got chopped up because of it. If you try to stretch it, I also have the concerns not only of George's vision and messing up the timeline, because that's never happened before, but also because it's not going to be what anyone would want it to be. I feel like everything is too spread too thin as to what folks would want to see for that. Can Obi-Wan get off of Tatooine? I'm totally cool with that. It's got to be done a certain way. I am by no means qualified to say how that's going to happen. I liked what you said, that maybe he screws up. I think it would be pretty cool, actually, if we got to see... How did he get to Tatooine? Was he dropped off, or did he bring his own ship? He brought his own ship,
No,
right?
no, he was dropped off.
Okay.
We don't technically know. I suppose he could have used Grievous's ship with baby Luke. He could have brought that down there.
It's probably in the novel, if that's even canon.
Actually, no.
I don't think it is.
Well, we don't. At the end of Revenge of the Sith, they do the Polis Massa. The kids are born, and then they end up back on the Tantive 4, and it's possible the Tantive 4 still has Grievous's ship on it, which Obi-Wan used to escape Utapau. So maybe. I don't even know what it was in Legends.
If he did have a ship with him, that would be a pretty neat time to see him use it one last time before it gets destroyed or whatever. Whether or not we see an Obi-Wan and Vader meeting, which, like I said, I'm extremely skeptical about, but as always, I'm open to being wrong. I think what's important to me, and I am not convinced I'm going to see it unless there's been something I haven't heard about or there's going to be a recasting, is I'd like to see him communicating with Qui-Gon. But I haven't heard a casting for Liam Neeson, and I don't know if that's someone they would want to recast.
I don't think that's something that would come out, though.
Yeah, no, I think that they would save that.
You think they would save it?
I think that not only would they save it, it would be something filmed on a limited set, small set, with only a handful of people mandatory to shoot such a sequence that, it wouldn't be a mass. Not everybody would have hands on that information. It would be blacked out. It wouldn't even be in, the general script. It would be a specific sequence. I know it's been done before in TV and movies, and I can't think off the top of my head. Didn't they? Did they not do that with Michael Rosenbaum in Smallville?
They did until he slipped. He gave it away. But yeah. Mm-hmm.
So so it's definitely something that's been done in TV series. I think even other series have done it. So it's certainly possible. And Lord knows, if you get Liam Neeson back for this, it's not something you're going big with outside of a celebration type environment, which it doesn't seem like we're going to get before the series actually comes out.
The other thing is, you can't make the whole series this too much. I would say there might be a way where you could have a couple meetings of it, but they would have to all be brief.
The other thing that there's an issue here with, guys, is where Tommy brought it up earlier. There's already so much in canon. There's already so much written, so they're like trying to weave their way through without disrespecting other canon. And Qui-Gon doesn't fully appear as a Force ghost to Obi-Wan until during Star Wars: A New Hope. And if you have the Certain Point of View novel, and if you don't, I strongly suggest getting it. Even the audiobook version, they hired a bunch of amazing actual actors for it as well. John Hamm's in it. I think John Hamm does Boba Fett in it. It's a must get. There's some terrible stories in there, but the stuff we get with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan and Yoda, it's absolutely worth it. From what we know, this is according to the story group, the Obi-Wan stories in those novels are considered canon. So while, Qui-Gon may have appeared as a Force ghost, a distorted one, and was struggling with it, he was really struggling to fully become one. Obi-Wan doesn't see, Qui-Gon the way Luke sees Obi-Wan or Yoda in Jedi until during A New Hope. So it's like, if it is Qui-Gon, it's either going to be very distorted Qui-Gon that we barely see, or it's just going to be a voice. And then I also think that, if this is a regular occurrence where he's doing the training, they may just come out and announce him if we're going to hear Liam Neeson's voice 10,000 times in 6 episodes. So We'll have to wait and see. I want to throw a curveball at you guys here. It's something we're going to do on this program to keep everybody on their the edge of their seat. We were going to talk Kathleen Kennedy, but we're going to push that to next week. And we're actually going to, I think it's Kieran that likes talking, is it Jedi knowledge and Jedi code and just stuff like that. So we're gonna do a little bit of that, just because I heard a discussion on another podcast where the guy was adamant that if Obi-Wan is still... He doesn't want to see Obi-Wan PTSD dealing with that after Revenge of the Sith, and doesn't want to see him go off planet and still struggle with what's happened, because he says it would make Obi-Wan a terrible Jedi Knight, that he was an awful Jedi Knight. And I guess if you look at the way the Jedi are represented in the prequels and how most of them are, with very little personality, and the ones that are sort of uptight about it, Mace Windu. I've always looked at it as Obi-Wan is one of the good guys, one of the guys that sort of gets that, hey, what the Jedi are doing here aren't necessarily right. They've kind of lost themselves. Qui-Gon gets it. Obi-Wan eventually gets it, and I think Yoda gets it at the end. But this guy, and I respect his opinions and thoughts, is adamant that he doesn't want to see it because he doesn't think Obi-Wan basically it would make Obi-Wan a terrible Jedi. And for me, it's more about realizing the Jedi, in fact, were already on that path, and feeling these things is something a Jedi should feel and have to deal with. Let's get into a little bit of philosophy here. Kieran, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, he was fully trained, so it's different than what Kanan went through, but think about what Kanan went through, not having any direction and trying to still be a Jedi. Like I said, obviously he wasn't as trained as Obi-Wan is, but my take on being a Jedi is it's a constant practice. It's not you're a master and then you have these abilities. It's that you have to constantly reevaluate and constantly train. I feel like, if Obi-Wan doesn't train to be a Jedi for 5 or 10 years, then he's not going to be as powerful as he once was. So, I would like to see him try to. I would like to see how he's keeping himself up with Jedi knowledge. I just had a thought from earlier, though, as well. What if Vader? He thinks that Vader is tracking through the Force. Maybe he picked up on Luke, and maybe he decides Obi-Wan needs to leave in order to lead Vader away from Luke. Is maybe a way that story could go. Maybe he has to leave the planet because he's worried that Vader's too close and he's going to find Luke.
Yeah, maybe Luke sends some ripple off through the Force that Obi-Wan clearly feels because he's on Tatooine, but then he gets worried. And
yeah, I was just thinking about Darth Vader having that I feel a feeling that I haven't felt in a while, and it's my old master, and that sort of thing. Maybe he through the Force discovers there's a ripple in the Force on Tatooine, and then once Obi-Wan discovers it, he says I better lead him away from the trail to Luke.
It's possible. For me, that would work.
If they were to do something like that, and this isn't going to happen, but if they were to do something like that, I think a potential plot element I would like to see is Obi-Wan considering cutting himself off from the Force. Not forever, obviously, but temporarily.
I like that idea.
Yeah. Obi Wan Kenobi is, one of those people you just think of as the embodiment of the Force. What is he? If you remove that from his equation, what is he? Definitely, there's character development that could be done there, and I don't know. I don't think we're going to actually see that, but if that was the path this series would go, that would be something I think would be pretty cool to look at, kind of like the Jedi Exile.
I don't know how I would feel about that, just because Obi-Wan's supposed to be training to become a Force ghost, and you definitely cannot do that while you're disconnected from the Force. But maybe what you guys are saying, if it means saving Luke, Maybe he does. Who knows? Thaden, where are you with this, man? Do you think Obi-Wan's suffering from PTSD and showing attachment and feelings towards what happened with Anakin makes him a bad Jedi, or is one of the Jedi's flaw the fact that they seem to think that's a must?
I don't think it makes him a bad Jedi because it's not something he can control at all. Like, he's not supposed to have no feelings towards his former Padawan, and he's not supposed to have no feelings towards anyone, really. He's just not supposed to be controlled by those feelings. So I feel like having PTSD shows, like, yes, he was attached to Anakin, but Episode 3 shows he still did what he had to do in fighting him. Like, he still did do his duty as a Jedi. So, like, you can have both, I think. I don't think the PTSD would affect how Jedi he is. And I don't think it would represent him not being a proper Jedi. I think it's just natural. And, I mean, obviously, we've also seen, like, him and Anakin were best friends. He was attached. So it's just part of the character anyways. And losing someone who he calls a brother like that is going to be traumatic, so I think it would make a lot of sense to have it.
I think that's one reason they're bringing back Hayden Christensen, other than the fact fans really want it now. And as much as I love George Lucas, he's not the greatest with dealing with actors. It'd be nice to see, like, I'd love to see what Hayden Christensen does with Deborah Chow. Like, I think that'll be enlightening. But you got to remember, the Clone Wars was a cartoon. I mean, I don't necessarily look at it like that, but there are more Star Wars fans who haven't seen the Clone Wars than there are who have. It's just fact. So to them, when they hear about Obi-Wan and Anakin being best friends, we see very little of that in the prequels. The beginning of Revenge of the Sith is the closest we get to that. You don't really see it.
The most of it.
Yeah. So by doing some Clone Wars flashbacks, we're going to have an opportunity to see that. And I think that's good. Johnny, Tommy, both of you guys, quickly here. You buying that or you selling that Obi-Wan suffering from PTSD makes him a bad Jedi?
Oh, I'm selling.
It's bull.
Oh, you're on the same page.
Absolutely, because those types of emotions are fairly new in and amongst the Jedi Order. Somewhere. Now, of course, we have to take this with a grain of salt because to this point there is no canon pre-Episode 1. Not really anyway. There've been stories and allusions and things of that nature, but if we look to the Old Republic era as previously defined, which until that point was obviously the go-to source of knowledge for the way things used to be, it was not uncommon for Jedi Masters to have families. I mean, you didn't stop being a Jedi just because you had a family. Back then, it was what you were training anyway. Once you reached up the ranks and got higher in the ranks, then you could do things like that, and it wasn't quite so frowned upon. It was just a reality. Relationships were common. So I think it's bupkis. Somewhere along the way, the Mace Windu's of the world, or that type of Jedi, where you were solely about the monastic life. I mean, I guess, it just further goes into that, Jedi is a religious order type thing. You can see the changes in the religion over the course of thousands of years, just like you can in the real world. And then that's a dive that, we really don't want to take, but, the parallels are there if you look for them. And that's me. This is a fairly new occurrence in the Jedi Order. When it started happening, I have no bloody clue. But, having emotions, having feelings does not make you a worse Jedi. In fact, I dare say it makes you a better Jedi. And Obi Wan Kenobi is the proof of that pudding.
Anything to add, Tommy?
No, nothing I really want to delve into. I could go into the philosophy of attachment versus non-attachment, but we'll save that for another time.
All right, super chat in from Intel Wild. Tommy B looking like a Jedi pimp. Hey, I put a Star Wars term in there. He says, thank you for the support as usual, Mr. Intel. Well, guys, let's move on to the next segment, which we have titled the where are we here? The Death Star Countdown. And the Death Star Countdown is a top 5 countdown we're going to do most weeks here on the show. We might take an off week here and there. And today's countdown is, in fact, the top 5 lightsaber battles for each one of us. Alrighty, so the way this is going to work is we're all going to go around the table and give our number 5 and our number 4 at the same time. So I'll give my 5-4, then Kieran, Johnny, Thaden, and Tommy. And then we're going to go one at a time, 3 through 1. So for me... Oh no, what happened to my list? Don't do this to me.
Gotta make a new one.
This is some terrible, cruel twist of fate.
You want us to come back to you and we can do ours first?
Come back to me. Let's start with Kieran.
Okay. So I have number 5 as Ventress versus Anakin from not the Clone Wars, but Clone Wars, the Genndy Tartakovsky one. And it's mostly because I really like the art style. It's really cool when it shows rain and light, stuff coming off the lightsabers from the rain. You get to see Anakin go crazy and, smash down on her, which, you do see in other battles and things too, and lose his temper. But I really love the art style, so that's why that one's in there. And my number 4 is the Battle of the Fates with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon versus Darth Maul, which I was definitely my number 1 for a long time, but I feel like every time I go back, I'm expecting like a really amazing choreographed fight, and I don't quite get it doesn't age well for me for some reason. But that's my 5 and 4.
Johnny?
Off this way.
All right. My number 5 is the Emperor versus Revan et al. From the Revan novel. This one wasn't on my list until we were doing the pre-show, where something else got knocked off my list because I was reminded of this epic battle, and it categorized everything of the Old Republic in a novel that was amazingly well written. Drew Karpyshyn at his best. And my number 4.
Before you go to your number 4, that battle, just to clarify here, without spoiling what happens to it for people that haven't read it, that ends up being the Emperor. We'll call him not Palpatine. Against Revan, against the Exile, against, is it T4, right? T4 is in there, and against
T3.
Is it T3? I feel like we're talking about Tylenol right now. And then what's his face?
Scourge.
That's it. Piece of shit. Sorry, I had to. There, I slipped. I finally swore.
You can't blame him for what he did.
I can and I will.
You can't, because the vision was true.
Ugh.
Prophecy is huge in the Force, especially back then. And the man saw prophecy, lived the prophecy, and it worked. Revan wasn't dead. So the only person that actually lost their lives in that battle were the Exile and T3, that little bitch bucket of bolts.
Side note here, most of the time when Johnny's been talking, his head's been kind of down like this, so his name tag's been like over his mouth, and all I can think is, oh, now you look like Malik. So we went from Lex Luthor to Vader to Malik. Let's see who else we can do. What's your 4, man?
I can't with that. You got me with that one. Also, the Vader reference would have been right there too. Since you already did Vader, then the face mask would have still worked for Vader. Grievous Obi-Wan. Really pick your poison, but for me, this is the final one. The last one. It resonates. I enjoyed it. I don't really need to go into details because I'm sure we all know it very well. So
I call that the paraphrase battle, where Obi-Wan just drops down, just like, "What's up?" Like, surround him. Like, yeah, I got this.
How you doing?
Thaden, what do you got, man?
So my fifth one, this one was kind of hard to pick. There's probably some other things that could have fit there, but I went with Kylo versus Rey from The Force Awakens. I like that fight because it got me really excited for the other movies to come, and then sadly there was not a lightsaber duel exactly that matched it, but and like it was well choreographed, despite that it wasn't the crazy choreography of the prequels, and there's some good emotion behind it and stuff. I thought it was cool. It was also like the first lightsaber duel I'd seen in theaters in most of my life. So yeah. My second one, or my fourth one, I guess, is Grievous versus Shakti and Ki-Adi-Mundi and all those other Jedi from the Genndy Tartakovsky Clone Wars. And I used to just watch that fight all the time. The music is so good. And him just, he has a lightsaber in his foot at one point. He never even uses his forearms. And it's awesome. I love that fight. The only thing it's missing is really a lot of emotion other than just fear.
Yeah. That
it's really good.
We'll never get it, I don't think, but it'd be awesome to see a group even like a straight to Disney Plus, 90-minute Star Wars movie where we get this group of Jedi we don't know that are on this mission during the Clone Wars, and like all 5 of them just get wasted by crazy acrobatic Grievous. Give me that.
I just got chills down my spine. I'm not kidding. I love that.
Those are the type of projects, and I used to talk about this on Star Wars Wastelands all the time. If Marvel and DC can do straight to stuff, why can't Star Wars, Lucasfilm, just as big almost, do some straight to material that's not super high budget? No reason they can't, but we'll save my
We actually talked about that for like 10, 15 minutes on Rogue Sons the other day.
Well, there you have it. Tune into the latest Rogue Sons of Star Wars podcast, which you can find where, boys?
It's kind of everywhere. It's on Spotify. That's the biggest one. Everyone can listen to it there, and on Anchor as well.
Awesome. Tommy B, what's 5 and 4 for you, man?
5 for me, I put down Duel of Fates, Maul, Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan. First Star Wars film I saw in theaters. To this day, it has a sense of magic to me, and it continued throughout the prequels as far as lightsaber duels were concerned. 4, some of y'all out there might think this is kind of low for it, but I put the Luke Vader Empire Strikes Back just because of the magnitude of the scene.
Wow. I can't complain too much considering where it is on my list. My number 5, and this has changed because I don't remember what I had at number 5. I had to redo my list. I indeed did. Oh my God. I deleted my bloody list, people. Fuck. Alrighty. Now that we got that out. My number 5 is in fact from the novels. I think we were asked that off air, and I don't know if anyone had one from the novels till Johnny put one. And now I have one too. Mara Jade Skywalker against Jason Solo. Then, actually, he was not Darth Kaitis then. That came afterwards. But you essentially have Mara hunting Jason at this point because Jason has plans for Ben, Mara and Luke's son, to become a Sith, and he's been treating him like crap. I believe he smacked him around a few times. And Mara tries to end Jason, her nephew, and it's this like. I kind of like the choreographed. I'm going to go off here a bit. The choreographed fights with the prequels because that's supposed to be the Jedi at their absolute pinnacle, the best the Order's ever been, apparently. And I sort of like the idea that move for move they can sort of match it. And to me, the sequels never should have been that. It's one thing I think they got right is because it's, what are they, like half-trained Jedi at this point? Ben Solo has some good stuff to him because, he trained under Luke Skywalker, Kylo Ren, however you want to call him. But Daisy Ridley, Rey, is kind of sloppy, and she should be because she hasn't hardly had any training. So it makes sense to me. But in this fight, the way you read it, or if you're listening to the audiobook version of it, sounds very sloppy, very messy. As much as it's a lightsaber fight, it's a full-on brawl. They're beating the crap out of one another. Jason's fighting to keep his identity sealed, and this fight is happening on the planet where his daughter is, and he doesn't want it, to get out there who he is. Mara's fighting for her son, and Mara basically wins the battle, but lets her guard down. And Mara Jade was an assassin, by the way. Mara lets her guard down, and I don't know if you guys have read this or not. Jason stabs her basically with a couple of poisonous darts or needles in the leg, and it all shoots up through her body, and she basically slowly fades away, and Jason sort of talks to her as it's just this twisted emotional thing that you'd almost feel like you'd see in the movie Seven and not Star Wars, and it's written so wonderfully. Sorry, I had to go on a tangent about that. And number 4 for me is actually Anakin and Obi Wan Kenobi against Count Dooku at the beginning of Revenge of the Sith. There's no music playing during that fight. It's one of the only times there's no music of any sort during a Star Wars fight during the prequels. And, Obi-Wan gets taken out early because for whatever reason, Count Dooku is his kryptonite. And Anakin just takes it to Dooku. You get an idea how far Anakin's come during the Clone Wars, and I love it. I love everything about it. Kieran, up to you. Just to save some time, just do your top 3, and then we'll move on around the table.
So my 4 was Battle of the Fates. My 3 is actually Obi-Wan versus Darth Maul in Rebels, which is like a super small, not really a duel, but if you've seen the videos online of them explaining like exactly what happened and how the moves were, basically Maul did exactly what he was going to do to Qui-Gon, or what he did to Qui-Gon, and killed him, and Obi-Wan knew what was coming and kind of feigned that he had a different style at the moment, but he didn't, and he ends up taking him out almost in sort of like a way that seems like a samurai fight. It's definitely like an homage to like old samurai movies, how he takes him out. It's a couple moves and it's like done. And I thought it was like really, once I heard the explanation for it, I loved it so much. So that's my number 3. My number 2 is Obi-Wan versus Anakin in Revenge of the Sith. It doesn't really need a lot of explanation because it is like one of the most emotional, crazy, almost kind of like a war of attrition, or like, it's definitely like they definitely, it's the most athletic contest that you've seen. They're not flipping and jumping as much as some others, but it seems like it goes on forever, and like it's just like, why won't one of them die? And obviously the ending where he cuts off his legs there is pretty neat, and also a callback to an earlier fight. And my number 1 is Luke versus Vader in Return of the Jedi. It's really hard for me not to vote Return of the Jedi stuff. That movie has an emotional hold over me, like none of the other Star Wars movies do. But if I have to focus on one reason why that's my number 1, it is entirely the music. The music gets it exactly right. It has a very good, like it switches tempos, and right when Luke starts to win, there's like a very, I don't know, there's a very good piece of music there that changes. And I think it has all the emotion, and also Mark Hamill's acting after he cuts off Darth Vader's hand and goes into a sudden realization. I think it's just fantastic. So that's my number 1. That's the one that always gets me and makes me feel the chills.
I would describe it almost as like up until the point, like right before Luke starts to win. It's almost like there's, visually speaking, there's like a dark cloud cover overhead, and as Luke starts to win, the music almost changes to like the sun is starting to break through the cloud cover. I Return of the Jedi is far from my favorite Star Wars movie, but man, the end of that duel, if that doesn't hit you in the heart, I don't know what will. Johnny, your podium, man, what is it?
All right, my number 3 is a relatively recent addition to the Star Wars canon, and that's Darth Maul versus Ahsoka from the Mandalorian arc and the end of the Clone Wars. There was just something about that just captured me. I don't specifically, there's nothing I can really point to. It had everything that makes a great duel great. It had the emotion, it had the action, it had the acrobatics, it had everything. And it is, without question, my third favorite lightsaber duel in all of Star Wars. Number 2, again, making his second appearance for 2 different people. It's Maul versus Obi Wan and Qui-Gon at the end of Episode 1. I mean, I don't really need to describe why it's there. It's just an amazing duel that was just so different from anything we'd ever seen. It just makes it so special. And number 1, without question, Anakin versus Obi-Wan is my favorite. It has everything. It captures. It's emotional. It's everything you want in a duel. Between 2 people that that love each other, really, at the end of the day. And it was beautiful, emotional. It was everything I wanted it to be, and so much more.
Well said. Thaden, how about you, man? Your podium.
This is actually interesting. My number 3 is Ahsoka versus Maul in the Siege of Mandalore arc. And yeah, you said a lot of the same stuff that I think, but it's like the music when it kicks in, it starts there's the beat of the drum, and you can feel the weight behind everything they're doing, and there's cool set pieces. They go up into the sky beams in Mandalore, and it's a really it's a very prequel-y fight that we didn't really get otherwise, because we didn't have a lot of prequel content otherwise since Disney's taken over. So yeah, that fight is pretty awesome. My second favorite one is the Praetorian Guard fight, Rey and Kylo versus the Praetorian Guards. The only thing keeping it back is the fact that it's so brief, but other than that, it's constantly changing. They all have there's new weapons showing up constantly, and you see Kylo fighting, and his fighting is different than Rey's because he's always fighting multiple and she's fighting one. So you get to see both of those things happening, and you get to see them work together, and it happens right at the peak of that movie for me, right after Snoke gets cut in half, and it's really cool. I like that part a lot. And it was also just crazy, awesome fan service to finally have the Red Guards actually in a fight in one of the movies, which is just super cool. And my number 1 is also Anakin versus Obi-Wan on Mustafar. And same stuff as everyone's been saying, but for me, it's the peak of Star Wars duels and prequel duels for sure. It's the best one I think in Star Wars, but it's by far, I think, the best one in the prequels, even though the prequels have some good fights. And the emotion behind it, the way it starts, it pumps you up, and in an emotional way that makes you excited to see it, but also worried what's going to happen. And it's so friggin' intense, and it's awesome. Plus, that movie used to be my favorite Star Wars movie for a long time.
Man,
so yeah,
I love Revenge of the Sith. I do. Still my number 2. Tommy, what's your podium, man? I'm a little concerned here.
Yeah, you might not like it.
Oh boy, here we go.
Number 3. Only one person in here was a Force user. I struggled with this. I had to include a Maul fight of what I was going to put. I put Maul versus Pre Vizsla. And the reason I put that is because I've had an attachment to Maul for years. Like I just got done saying, Episode 1 was the first film I saw in theaters. Maul was a badass. I knew in the back of my head because, books and stuff, Maul lived after that battle. However, that was dubiously, sort of not really canon for so long. And then Clone Wars came in and changed that. and it was great. And I feel that while Maul has a lot of fantastic scenes throughout Clone Wars, throughout Rebels, you see him in his prime in the Maul versus Pre Vizsla fight when he knifes him down and takes over as not really Mandalore. Yeah, you really see him in his prime there in a way. For my number 2, I chose Ahsoka versus Vader. I think that was the season 2 finale of Rebels.
Yep.
Simply put, the emotion from that battle has never really left me. If I have to think about it, it's probably my favorite battle from all of Rebels. You're dealing with the heartbreak of watching that little glimpse of Anakin still there, have to go up against Snips. And at the end, you're left questioning, is she alive? Is she not? And then you later learned, well, actually, she wasn't. But she did get to come back, so that's okay, too. And then for my number 1, I also had Anakin versus Obi-Wan at the conclusion of Revenge of the Sith. I think it's Battle of Heroes, or is that the score?
Nope. Battle of Heroes,
Yep. All right.
I mean, technically on the soundtrack, there's Anakin versus Obi-Wan, which is Battle of Heroes melded in with Duel of Fates. And then you also have the Battle of Heroes theme as well. Okay, so my top 3 here are Luke and Vader, Empire Strikes Back. Love it. It's classic. Vader's toying with him, okay? I get it. Vader's toying with him. It's his son. He doesn't want to kill him. Shows there's still some good in him, even though he cuts off his son's hand. Then number 2 is the Phantom Menace. Look, say what you want about the movie. I've actually grown to like it more and more and more as years have come. There is too much Jar Jar. There's no doubt about that. But holy cow, that battle. Like, what more could you ask for than what those guys deliver in that battle? 2 versus 1, double-sided lightsaber. You got a little bit of a teaser earlier on in the movie with Maul versus Qui-Gon. You get to see, just how good Obi-Wan is at the end of that. And you sort of get a preview of what Obi-Wan's meaning. Hey, I have the high ground, which Maul didn't take seriously, and Obi-Wan springs up. And, I mean, I'm sure Obi-Wan's thinking of that moment during Revenge of the Sith when Anakin's down there. He's like, oh, don't do it. I'm not going to cut you in half. I'm just going to cut all your limbs off. And my number 1 is the same as most of you guys, Anakin versus Obi-Wan. I just, everything about it. It's like, right, that battle is the fate of the galaxy. Right there. A lot of people don't realize it. Yeah, Yoda gets away, but if Obi-Wan loses that battle, goodbye Rebel Alliance, goodbye future Jedi, because Anakin would have had them, and Anakin was with the Emperor at that point, and who knows what the hell would have happened. I'd love to see like a non-canon novel of, even though I love Obi-Wan, he's my favorite, Anakin wins that fight, and what does he do with pregnant Padme then? That'd be interesting. Anyways, that is going to do it for our top 5 countdown this evening. I would say the big winner is obviously the Anakin versus Obi-Wan fight. I really like the variety, guys. Tom's had some animated ones in there, and I love the Obi-Wan Maul fight that happens in Rebels because it shows how far Obi-Wan's come. Maul's getting ready for like this big battle to the death, and Obi-Wan's just like, no. So I dug that. I love that we all have some variety, but I'm pleasantly surprised that I think 4 out of the 5 of us had Obi-Wan versus Anakin at number 1, which I like. I really do. Let's keep this thing moving, though. It's time for our feature segment of the show, which is called The Council, where we pick one topic where we take a deep dive discussion into about that topic. And spoiler alert, for the next several weeks, we're going to be talking about Knights of the Old Republic. And on this episode, we're talking the first planet in Knights of the Old Republic, Terrace. All right, Knights of the Old Republic came out in 2003, and if you were a Star Wars fan, whether you got to play it then for the first time or a few years later, in my opinion, it was the first game that really put you in the Star Wars universe. to me personally, I know we spoke a few weeks ago about how much we love Knights of the Old Republic, so we won't get into all that now. But in a nutshell, this game is amazing. I love it. It's my favorite game ever made, period, not just Star Wars. And the group of us decided we're going to play back through the game. So we're going to talk a little bit about our playthrough with Terrace. And I'm going to... Thaden, have you been playing through the game? First of all, have we all been playing through the game?
Yes.
Is there anybody who hasn't been playing through the game? All right. I don't see anybody saying they have not. Thomas has gone a little blurry on us, but I still see him there. All right. So let's start with Thaden, man. How's your playthrough going? And what are some just key moments that are standing out to you in Terrace?
I think I'm going to have to replay the game as evil or something because I finished the whole game. But I do remember much of Terrace. A lot of the stuff that I didn't remember from playing it before of Terrace is that you meet all of your companions except 3 there. And I really enjoyed that because it lets you pretty much pick who you like right from the beginning and start taking them with you, and you learn about them. You learn why they're all there, about Canderous being... Well, you learn a little bit about him being there and working with Davik, and you can tell he doesn't exactly like it. And you can see when you go to when you save Bastila, if you talk to her afterwards, she's not all that grateful, which is really surprising for a Jedi, and I really like that. And I've possibly mentioned on this podcast before, or not on this podcast, on this channel before. I hate Karth. Karth sucks. He's super whiny. He's the worst. So that's enough for Karth.
Sorry, I had to.
It was worth it. And I just and I like Mission and Zalbar as well. They're a good it feels like they're a scrappy version of Han and Chewie. And just the whole planet is it's a really cool way to set up the grand story while going into a deep dive into what this one planet is. It's this weird seedy version of Coruscant, and there's stuff that's different. It sets the tone for the whole game in just what you're going to be doing, and I don't know, there's a lot of really cool stuff.
Some of the things that stood out for me, I'll be brief. I want to listen to all you guys because I literally just played through the first planet today. I found myself almost immediately being oh my God, Karth, shut the fuck up. I never picked up on my first ever playthrough, and I'm going back a long time for this. I never really picked up that, oh, hey, what he's saying actually rings true, and there is a bunch here that he should probably be suspicious about, and even though he's sort of yeah, I'm suspicious, but I probably shouldn't be, and it's probably nothing, and it's just oh my God, you're annoying me. But looking back at it, it's okay, he was actually right to feel that way, but God, he doesn't shut up. And unlike you, I can't stand Mission. I wish I could kill her on Terrace, but I can't.
Jesus.
And I'm just gonna be blunt. Hey, this might come as
that's fair.
This might come as a surprise to some, but I'm playing through on the dark side this time, which
No.
I think I'm gonna.
You're joshing me.
I found myself going through things pretty quickly just because at this point you know where a lot of things are. But, when you consider that this game came out in 2003, and while the upper cities of Terrace definitely look the same, and I don't think it does the rest of the game justice with how good some of the rest of the game looks, at least back then. Terrace sort of reminds you of a poor man's Coruscant. But part of my favorite part of playing Terrace is the couple of brief cutscenes we get of Malak. I dig that. I really do. Kieran, how about you, man? How'd the playthrough go here?
Well, I mean, my first thought was I should play the dark side, but with about 30 seconds in, I decided I had to be a good guy. I feel like on this show in general, I feel like on the show in general, I am like the one Jedi, and you guys are all like Sith and evil. And
Oh, definitely Johnny and Tommy. They're always evil on everything they play. I try to tell them to make light side choices. But...
Don't you lump me in with you.
Anyways, I really like Terrace, and I don't know if I specifically remembered it, but the thing I love the most about Terrace is it has a narrative of how the humans don't like the aliens. There's some like racism in there, and there's also a class. There's a difference between classes. There's a big divide between the rich people who live up high and the poor people who live down low.
Yep.
And obviously, the people who live down low are, you have the gangs and things like that, but you meet gangs of people who are good guys. And then generally the people you meet on the top who are rich are kind of like selfish and, and snotty towards you. And you also get to talk to people who work for the Sith who they're not like evil. They're like, oh yeah, no, I work for the Sith. I've been working there for 2 years. It's been a good racket. Like they're not necessarily evil characters. And I think those things really opened up the world, and showed you how this is going to be different from other Star Wars things that you've played. So my favorite things, were on Terrace were basically just the real life type scenarios that we got there. And also everyone's talking about being quarantined and there being a rat ghoul disease, which I thought was kind of funny and current.
That's cool. That's cool. Tommy B, man, I know you just finished up recently. How'd the playthrough go, and what were some of your favorite things on Terrace?
Well, I didn't do a whole playthrough. I just did a playthrough of Terrace and first
same, yeah.
Hour of Dantooine.
Cheater!
I'm enjoying it. Well, not all of us have time to go do things whenever. Yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's great. I'm sticking to light side because I usually do, with few exceptions. Based on you just playing through today, I can pretty much tell you're not doing all the side quests real quick, are you?
Well, I did as many of the main missions as I could until it was pretty clear.
You didn't kill Bendak Starkiller.
I needed to get higher up in level, and then I started to do a bunch of the side quests. Like
you didn't kill Bendak Starkiller.
No, but I went and killed a bunch of other people.
Yeah, I really enjoy the dueling ring. That's perhaps not necessarily my favorite, but one of my favorite parts of Terrace. I love that Bendak Starkiller fight. It's fantastic. It's fun. It's exciting. You have no way to take him on normally. You have to use not cheat, but everything at your disposal just to take him down. You have to use your plasma grenades. You have to use your ion grenades. In the past, I've used mines.
Quick, pause. Go use a med pack when it's on pause. All right, get back to it.
Pretty much, yeah. You have to do whatever you can do just to stay alive. Concussion grenades. It's an exciting fight. And, of course, then you get off Terrace and Malik blows the planet to smithereens. And, like, everything you just did doesn't matter anymore. So it's always great for the self-esteem. Like, is your playthrough on Terrace not going all that great? Well, don't worry. In about a half hour, no one on that planet's going to care anymore. So
because most of them are going to be dead.
Pretty much, yeah. Wow. I don't think anyone on Terrace lives. If I recall correctly.
Not true.
Undercity. Yeah, definitely survivors.
Yeah.
What about
Mr. 1, 2?
Whatever happens with the folks in the Outcasts? If you finish that side quest, you find those Promised Land journals, and they go out venturing. I think they journey into that a little bit in the Old Republic, don't they?
They do. Yep.
Indeed.
Indeed.
You also learn that the entire Planet Council, I believe, was put in cryostasis prior to the bombardment.
That was yep. I remember that mission now.
That
Yep.
I don't. There's a bunch of old Republic side
I
stuff.
don't remember that being a mission, but I mean that is something that is in the Old Republic. Unless you're referring to the
I
Old
remember
Republic.
it. I played through it. Yep.
But that is something in the Old Republic that you uncryo the Planetary Council.
Johnny, how'd your playthrough go, man?
I mean, it sounds bad for such a great game, and it's kind of old hat.
Terrace
at this point,
Terrace is...
exactly. The first planet, it's really old hat. If I had a nickel for every playthrough I started, got through Terrace, and maybe Dantooine, and then stopped playing, and then just when I finally went back, I decided, I'll just start a new game because, it's been so long. I'd have a shitload of nickels. So, it was really old hat going through Terrace again. There isn't really anything that super duper stands out at this point. I mean, Tommy hit it. The dueling ring is fun. When you get to Bendak and you pretty much have to throw everything at him, including the kitchen sink, unless you cheat. Which is much easier to do playing the PC version, which I'll admit I've done a time or two, or 12. But that's beside the point. Also, Pazak. I love playing Pazak. I don't really know why, but I really enjoy playing Pazak. I could spend just hours and hours just playing Pazak and not worrying about the game at all.
I didn't even buy the deck.
Yeah, neither did I.
Let me tell you something I learned. If you don't buy the deck, you can go to that traveler who's on Dantooine, and you can buy it from him.
Yeah.
I don't know if there are anyone else throughout the game. I assume there are who you could do the same thing from. But yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, no, I'm not a Pazak guy. I do have to ask, did anybody else here turn on the hidden Becks? I did. I definitely turned on the hidden
Because
Becks.
you're a bastard.
Nobody? Am I the only one? Come on, let's get some more dark side stuff in here. Bloody hell. Well, there you have it. There's a brief look at all of our most recent playthroughs of Terrace during Knights of the Old Republic. Not a whole lot to add in here because Terrace, like Johnny said, it's kind of, for the most part, other than some basic decisions, it's kind of the same thing every time. Where I do find once you get to Dantooine and you go, after that, you go on the star map missions, the game it becomes a little more diverse for sure in the choices that you make. But that's gonna do it for our. Did I hit it? I hit everybody, right? All five of us got a turn there. Alrighty. Let's keep this ball moving. Then a quick little segment called the High Ground, where each and every week one of us will take a turn giving a Star Wars hot take, and the rest of us will quickly reply whether we're on board with it or we think you're fucking nuts. First up, it's Johnny with his High Ground hot take.
Okay. My hot take this week is as most of these are going to be, is a personal thing. And I'm sorry, boys, but clearly you guys got some love for it, but I'm going to say it. The Genndy Tartakovsky Star Wars Clone Wars series was fucking awful. It was not good. It was boring. I don't mean boring for the action. Boring in the sense of there was nothing to it. It was too short. There wasn't enough of it. It was just plain boring to me. I was 14, 15 when this came out. My attention span was a lot longer than the run span of the shows. I did not enjoy that type of viewing experience where you'd run through shorts and minis and micros. It was not an enjoyable viewing experience for me, and I did not enjoy it, no matter how good the action sequences were, no matter how different the animation style was. It could not make up for the extreme shortness.
I mean, in fairness, they did come out with a second part to that. I think it was a 5-episode special where the episodes were considerably longer. But I know what you're talking about, the initial run where Lucas basically just wanted to show everybody a little bit of what the Clone Wars was like before seeing Revenge of the Sith. I mean, it's not canon anymore, but let me tell you, I'll take that any day over the shit show that Star Wars Resistance is.
That's a whole different kettle of fish.
Uh,
But I said it. Anything 3 minutes? Come on, I drop turds longer than those episodes. That's not.
Well, I feel like Kieran and Thaden want to jump on you here, so let's go to Kieran first, man. Well, you got a retort to that? Gloves off, man. Gloves off. Don't be nice.
I don't know what to say to that. We just did a podcast on how much we enjoyed that and the many reasons to watch it. I love Samurai Jack and Dexter's Lab, so I really like the animation. I think it's great. So this is, I mean, I feel like this is not a problem with the show. I didn't have a problem with it being short. In fact, I remember being excited to see it, and if it was if it was one that I've seen before when it was originally on Cartoon Network, because they would show them in between shows and things like that. Until eventually, I think they showed them in a half an hour block, and they started showing like 4 at a time. I thought they were like 5 or 6 minutes long, but
I think it varied.
I really enjoy a show, especially when you're watching Star Wars. If you watch Clone Wars, the Clone Wars, then you have to be really heavily invested, and you have to be ready to hear things and take them in, and say, well, how does that change this character? And you have to keep details in your head. And this show was just, it was easy. It's easy to watch. You can go through and watch it and have it in the background. I really enjoyed watching it recently when I was on vacation. I watched the whole thing again, and there's not very much I don't love about it. The only thing I can think of off the top of my head is the Mace Windu flying a drone by like pulling a cord and stuff like that. I don't know. That was a little bit silly for me, but I mean, other than that, like it was like I was like jaw drop open about the show. So
in other words, Johnny's a hater. We knew it. Thaden, retort, dude.
Yeah, Johnny's wrong. I'm sorry.
That's a Johnny response. That's what he says to people.
I love the Genndy Tartakovsky Clone Wars. I also, though, to be fair, I don't remember ever actually watching it in 5-minute installments. I remember seeing on TV the 30-minute ones or volumes that we have on disc. So for me, it was half an hour or an hour. So that might help. But even rewatching it, I watched it like last week, and I loved it. It feels like a long movie, or not a long movie, like a long episode of a show or a short movie, or if you watch both of them, more like one movie, where you're just hopping back and forth between stuff. The first part feels more disconnected, but then the second part feels better, and yeah, I don't know.
Tommy B jumped. Oh, like sorry. Okay, my bad. I love. Sorry. What is it you guys are calling this Clone Wars? The what?
Genndy Clone Wars.
Oh, I just call them the Samurai Jack Clone Wars. I mean,
yes.
that's the best way I can chalk it up to. Tommy, I've seen you grinning down there the entire time that these guys have been retorting, and I can't tell if you're grinning because you don't like what they're retorting to, or if you're on board with them and Johnny's just crazy Lex Luthor right now.
So I've been going through a mix of emotions because the first thing I wanted to do, which was how you began this, tell Johnny what you think of it. I was going to say, well, you're fucking nuts. But at the same time, I kind of get it. Now, and I'm going to explain real briefly because I could do a whole show on why I feel this way. In some ways, this show is overrated. I'm not going to lie about that. In some ways, this show is overrated because, yes, it provides something that the Clone Wars didn't. That's indisputable. Couple things, actually. Some of which, it provides your first real introduction to Ventress. We missed that in the Clone Wars. We don't get that. That sucks. It probably went back and did it in a novel, I'm pretty sure. That's canon, but you don't get, unless I'm forgetting, Grievous attacking Coruscant. You don't get that.
Yeah, you do. In the that's how he kidnaps Palpatine. They're little, so Grievous ends up on Coruscant.
No, in the Clone Wars. You don't get that.
Sorry. See, I'm getting confused. Bloody hell.
Yeah, I
Clone
know.
Wars, the Clone Wars, Samurai Jack Clone
you
Wars,
lost
good-looking
that
Clone Wars.
When that series became non-canon. Yeah. Those two series worked with each other while they were both canon. When they did away with that, you lost that. At the same time, I just looked up the premiere date. It was November 7th, 2003. I wasn't even 10 yet.
Oh, God,
I remember
that makes me feel old.
hearing this announcement that you're going to get this new fancy Star Wars series. So I'm all hype. I'm turning on Cartoon Network downstairs TV. The thing was huge. It weighed like 500 pounds. And I turned it on, and they ended up making it was a commercial. And I'm like, where's the Star Wars? Was that the preview?
Done.
Where's the Star Wars? Well, why don't I just go fuck myself?
Oh, here we go. There it is.
Where's the Star Wars? Where is it? And for real, like, this was 2003. I didn't even have internet good enough, I don't think, at the time, where I could pull it up on whatever the hell you had. I don't think you had YouTube as widespread. Yeah, I think you were using Cartoon Network's website. Whenever they got around to uploading that shit, you might be looking a couple months later. Who knows? And I did eventually get to do a full watch through, I'm pretty sure. But times were different back then. The internet's come a long way over these so many years. And
yes, water is wet.
It's weird.
They were over quickly. I remember I didn't know that it was going to be a micro series, and I tuned into the first episode. I was like, "That's it? What?"
Yeah. Like, where's the rest of it?
It was so to that extent. I agree with what Johnny's coming at. I think it's a valid hot take, but I think what we do get in the minimal amount we get is pretty decent. You surprised at all by the responses, Johnny, or basically what you expected?
Basically what I expected.
All right. Well, you know what's not what you expected is what happens next.
I do have one interesting story that actually ties together a lot of what we've talked to today.
Oh, Johnny's wrong?
So,
yes, that's right.
You can get that take all the time. Me and Thaden were talking about it before, and we talked about how Shaak-Ti fights Grievous, and like he destroys like almost every other Jedi he comes into contact with, and leaves her like really damaged and incapacitated, really. And in the Clone Wars, you see her training clones. So we had the thought that maybe she had kind of like a PTSD from fighting Grievous, and that she had to revert back to training clones instead of being out in the actual war, because she had been like mentally damaged, which ties into the Obi Wan PTSD type story that we might see, and also ties in how they used to be together. The shows. They worked well together before one of them became not canon. So,
I like that take. I like that take a lot. It makes a lot of sense.
Shaak-Ti is such an interesting character. More interesting than she often gets, because how many deaths in the Star Wars universe?
God damn it, Thomas! You just couldn't leave it alone, could you?
Like 5?
Oh! I'm going to need a moment now in the Death Watch, considering you literally just spoiled one of the questions. Thank you. It's 4. 4 deaths, Thomas. Bloody hell!
You know, you could have just left it and then just been like, you know.
No.
maybe we weren't paying attention.
No. Because of the way it's worded, the second he killed it, and he hasn't even seen the questions. Damn you, Thomas! Damn you!
You had the opportunity to share your fucking questions with me earlier, but you never even messaged me back, motherfucker.
You know what? All right, so this is gonna.
You can boo a man for accidentally stumbling on.
It's his fault.
The answer to one of your clues.
It's for real. She has so many fucking deaths. Star Killer kills her. Grievous kills her. Doesn't Anakin kill her in the Jedi Temple? Yeah.
You know what I think has happened here is I'm actually looking at my. Yeah, so that's what happened to my list. I accidentally deleted it because my clues were there, but I got it back. There's a recovery thing, so I'm gonna have to change that one. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, before Thomas accidentally spoils any more answers,
you're welcome.
Let's get to a segment that we are borrowing from the Star Wars Renegade show. It's time for the Death Watch.
I claim this sword and my rightful place as leader of Death Watch.
All right, so Death Watch has changed it a little, and you're going to have to bear with me here because I'm going to have to replace that question. But the way this works is each week we're going to try to do and even when we have a guest on, we're going to try to have triple threat matches. If you're a wrestling fan, you know what a triple threat match is. The way this works is each individual is going to pick a number, and whoever gets the number right will then get to pick another number before anybody else does. The Death Watch questions now are split into categories. Whatever number you pick is going to be the category you get for the Death Watch game. So the game has changed. Not only is it not one-on-one, it's triple threat matches, and you'll understand what we mean as we go here. And I got to prepare to send this picture so there's proof that that there's no fixing the game. And if by any means Thomas and I think any of you are using Google, whether we have proof or not, you will be immediately disqualified. In fact, while answering your questions, Kieran just gave it, you will hold your hands up like Ben Kenobi does to Luke in Empire Strikes Back. You can fist, you can middle finger, you can hands, whatever. No Googling BS. So let's keep the integrity of the game. Johnny here is the veteran and multiple-time Star Wars Wastelands trivia champion. So he will get to pick his number between 1 and 10 first to determine who gets to pick the actual numbers of the categories. Johnny, between 1 and 10.
5.
Thaden.
7.
Kieran.
6.
Kieran got it. All right. So we'll go Kieran, Johnny, Thaden. I almost sent you what the numbers were before then. All right, Kieran, I need a number between 1 and 3, man.
3.
Johnny?
1.
And that leaves Thaden with 2. I will send the picture in our little group chat to show that this was already done beforehand. And Kieran picked number 3. Kieran, you're not going to like this category, man. You drew Star Wars novels. Well, maybe you'll be all right. I don't know how much you've read, so you might be okay.
I just want to clarify here, Sean. I was only doing the questions you mentioned, right?
The movie ones, right?
Okay, I'm just making sure.
Yeah,
I don't owe you any more questions here, do I?
No, you got
great.
3
So
movies.
I got a Tommy category.
Oh yeah, at least they're movies though, right? And
it's still a Tommy category. He's gonna pull up some random character who was only in like a 16-second scene that their name is like Jim Bob Francis that you only know because it's in some behind-the-scenes book that nobody's read but him and you.
Fan fiction?
That's kind of funny. All right. So the way this is going to work
If that turns out to be true, I will murder him.
is
Or even something remotely close to that.
Thaden, I'm going to ask you to go
That
last.
look on your face, Tommy, I already want to throttle you.
Challenge.
I'm going to, for those of you that can't see our faces and are listening on the podcast format, feel free to tune in live each and every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern on the Fandom Empire, either YouTube page, our YouTube channel, or Facebook page. Thaden, I'm going to ask you to go last, just so I have time to replace that question that got burnt up there. And since Kieran got to pick the number first, Johnny, would you like to go first or second?
I will go second.
All right, which means Kieran, who drew novels. Here we go, man. So the way this works, again, hands either on your head or in, they got to be in visual proximity. The way this works is I will ask you the question. You will have 20 seconds roughly to answer. You get one repeat. After the repeat, you only have 5 seconds. Okay, so here we go. This character is a legendary Star Wars character, a fan favorite to most, and is killed by a moon while saving one of the Solo children in Star Wars Legends. Who is it?
It's Chewbacca.
That is correct. Kieran with a point. All righty. I wasn't sure if that would get someone or not, and it was a bit of a, I wouldn't call it a softball, but one of the
It was
light.
a wicked softball,
I mean,
especially if he's listened
it's
to
in an
past
older-
episodes. Because
It's,
I
it's
used
in
that.
an older book, though, right?
Yeah, no, it is. It's
I used that exact question on the first Death Watch I curated, or the second.
I think it's the first book in New Jedi Order, so we're talking like late 90s. So
I specifically even remember the whole Han Solo thing where he's like, it killed him. Like, it was like in disbelief. He's like, he's gone. And he like just couldn't get it out of his head. Like, he was like shocked.
alrighty, we're gonna move to Johnny here, who's in movies. So Kieran got his first one right. Tommy, give Johnny his first question.
I was a mentor to Han Solo. I had major trust issues. I would die from a blaster bolt to the chest in the middle of a sentence. Who am I?
Fuck. Woody Harrelson? I know that's. I can't remember the character's name.
Those
It's Woody
hands up,
Harrelson.
Johnny.
In your defense, Johnny, I can't remember the character's name off the top of my head right now. Anyways, hands up though, hands up. Keep those hands up, Lex Luthor. You got nothing?
It's Woody Harrelson.
All right, he's got nothing. Time's up. Tommy B, what was the answer?
Tobias Beckett.
Tobias Beck. I should have remembered Beckett. I think if you would have said Beckett, we would have gave it to you. So,
I think you probably wouldn't have, because Tommy's
Probably
pedantic
would
like
give
that.
it to you for Beckett. Beckett would have been an acceptable answer. I don't know how many times.
I think he
his
goes
full
more
name
by
is-
Beckett than Tobias in the film. But all
I
right,
agree.
let's move over to Thaden. So it's 1-0
weird.
Kieran at the moment. 1-0 Kieran at the moment. Thaden. This character appeared in a legendary Star Wars game. Was someone who was active in in-ring competition but wasn't any good, and died during an attack on Terrace by the Sith. Who is it?
I don't remember their names. I know it's one of the guys from the ring on Terrace. That's yeah. But
You got
girl
5
on
seconds.
2 fingers.
Oh,
Is that one of them?
that is incorrect.
Ah!
There's a reason why we added in wasn't any good. We were
I didn't
looking
remember
for
who was
Deadeye Duncan, sir. We were looking for Deadeye Duncan. So the score remains 1-0 to 0. And I thought Kieran drew the hardest category, so this is quite surprising. All right.
But he also got the easiest question.
Kieran, here we go, man. Question number 2 for you. This character was considered by some to be potentially the most powerful Jedi in the Legends canon. This character was tortured and eventually turned to the dark side. This character was killed by his sister during his last act, which was to save his daughter. Who is this character?
Is it Jason Solo?
That is correct. Kieran, a commanding 2.
I'm sorry, wasn't this supposed to be the hardest category?
2 to nothing lead. These guys know their Star Wars. I thought I could sneak these ones past them.
I don't think that word means what you think it means.
Jason Solo, really? Strongest Jedi in the Legends canon?
They
Really?
were, for a long time, they were building them up to be, this basically the second coming. So, Tommy B, give Johnny up there a second question. And believe it or not, Johnny needs to get this one right, or he is out of here.
I was a senator for the Galactic Republic and later the Empire. During Order 66, I would help Yoda escape from Palpatine. While my killing took place on screen, you don't see me die. Who am I?
Bail.
Bail what?
Bail Organa.
Okay. Well, I mean, you could say Bail Smith.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
Bail Skywalker.
Oh, all right. Johnny with a correct answer there.
Why
Obviously.
not? Everybody gets to be a Skywalker, so...
Johnny stays alive. All right. Thaden.
All right.
You need this one, man, or it's lights out. You meet this character on the first planet you play on. The character becomes a valued member of your team, depending on who you talk to. And this character is killed in the non-canon version of the game by their best friend at Revan's orders. Who is it?
Mission Vale.
Correct.
Yes, I didn't even know that was an option for her death.
It most certainly is. You can make Zelbar kill her.
Yeah, I figured that would be something that evil Revan would definitely do.
Yeah, you kind of foreshadowed that one earlier when you talked about
I
wanting
realized
to
it
kill
as-
her on the first planet.
Yeah. You're right. All right, Kieran, man, you, sir, can win it right here. As long as my phone unfreezes. 1 second, bear with me. All right. This character was considered a mastermind character in Star Wars Legends. This character was, I guess you could say, trained and or followed under Thrawn and was eventually killed at the hands of Anakin Solo's girlfriend during the Legacy of the Force novels. Who am I?
I need a repeat.
This character was, I don't want to call him he served under Thrawn, but studied closely under Thrawn. This character was eventually killed by Anakin Solo's girlfriend, Tahiri Vela. Who is this character? 5, 4.
I don't got it.
3. He doesn't got it. All right. We were looking for one, eventually, Grand Admiral Pelion. Gilad
Yeah, that was the
Pelion.
easiest category.
Yeah, so.
That
really?
category was really easy.
Be honest.
Plenty easy ones.
The only
I
clue
don't
that
think
you
that
had
question is an easy question. I do not think so.
I think the beginning about Thrawn's a bit of a giveaway, but you can't not attach Pelion to Thrawn. You can't. It's got to be in there. All right. That means everybody else is alive, and we don't have overtime questions prepped, so we'll be doing something a little bit different if we get to overtime. And we will be keeping track of everyone's record, too. So, Tommy, give Johnny his last question. Can he tie it?
I was a Twi'lek from Ryloth. I served Jabba the Hutt on Tatooine. I would die at the battle aboard Jabba's sail barge. Who am I?
Oh, okay.
Get your hands up.
Because you can't see them with my nameplate there. You can see them on the Skype screen. Look closer.
You want to repeat?
Oh, he's thinking. He's doing the little index fingers tapping.
I know the character, but I don't fucking know her name.
no, I think
Twi'lek slave girl.
I can tell you that that's not who he's referring
No.
to.
Oh God. Yeah.
But I don't know the name of the character either.
Are you sure?
Fuck.
Are you sure?
No, I'm not sure now because as soon as I thought that,
Hasn't it been like a minute yet?
repeat it. Repeat it for
He
me.
gets 5 seconds after the repeat.
I was a Twi'lek from Ryloth. I served Jabba the Hutt on Tatooine. I would die at the battle aboard Jabba's sail barge. Who am I?
5.
Bib Fortuna.
Yeah.
Oh
You're
my
correct.
God, he got it. He pulled it.
Actually, I did not think of... What's her
You're
name?
welcome for the assist. I thought that you were done. I wouldn't have fucking opened my mouth. Bloody hell. Sorry, boys.
Yeah.
But actually, I wouldn't
Like
call
that
that served. She was enslaved. That's a little bit
Yeah.
different.
Yeah, no, I knew you were Bib Fortuna. How could I forget his name? Unbelievable. All right, Thaden. You could make it.
I saw him first, but then I thought he was a Togruta. That's why I threw him off.
I know. I had to double check that
Twi'lek.
myself earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a Twi'lek. He's a Twi'lek, yeah.
Man. All right, Thaden.
I want to read timing of how much that took. I'm pretty sure that took longer.
Yeah.
Hey, you had a 5 seconds that was more like 12.
Oh boy, here we go.
That might be true.
Fighting words.
It's also a challenging question.
Anywho,
Thaden, this one's being pulled from my head here because I couldn't come up with another one. So, bear with me here. Your question to tie the game. I was once a Jedi Knight who fought in the Mandalorian Wars. I served under Revan and eventually died by his side. Who am I?
the Jedi exile Mitra Surik.
That is incorrect. We are looking
really?
for Darth Malik, who in fact
damn,
died
yeah.
beside Revan on the Starforge.
You're right.
So
Could
there's
have also been Mitra.
Would
It could have
Mitra
been.
not also fit that?
it could have,
those
but
clues?
it's not. Well, sorta. She didn't really serve under Revan during the Mandalorian Wars. She wasn't his apprentice, where Malik was. So.
She was like a couple steps down from them. Yeah,
Yeah.
she didn't serve directly under Evan.
So.
yeah, no, I'm-
We're gonna. Hey,
I'm
I
the
can
one
give
who
it to
lost
him. You want me to give it to him? We'll give it to him. No,
I'm
we
not.
can't.
Hey, you screwed me over on a question. The
You did.
first Death Watch that had two answers that were possible.
You
and
know what,
stuck to
though?
your one.
At the
I'm
end,
just saying that
Could
that
flip a
answer
coin.
did fit the clues. It's just not the correct answer.
correct, and that happens. So we're gonna go to
I mean-
overtime.
Does that mean that I win 2 to 1.5 because someone gave me part of the answer?
I'm good with that too.
It means we are going to overtime, where this is how it's gonna go. It's gonna be old NFL rules. Okay, so I'm gonna have a number on my phone here. Hang on. Bear with us, audience. I didn't think we'd actually go to overtime with this. I figured there'd be a clear-cut winner. I'm going to have a number on my phone that you guys got to guess between 1 and 10. The person who gets the number right will get the question. If they get the question right, game over. The other person doesn't even get a shot. If they get it wrong, game over. The other person wins.
Yeah, that's never been NFL overtime rules.
Yeah, well, close enough, whatever.
Not even a little bit.
Anyway, well, yeah. Again, if someone wouldn't have kicked the field goal, the other team could go back. But we're tight for time. Suck it. All right, here we go. A number between 1 and 10, gentlemen. Kieran, actually, I got to give it to Johnny. He's the ex-champion, and you are tied. Johnny, between 1 and 10.
3.
Nope. Kieran.
2.
There you have it. The number is 2. All right, I'm going to pull this one here.
Hands up.
Yeah, hands up, Mr. Kieran. Hands up. So if you get it right, you win. You get it wrong, Lex Luthor over there wins, which is the last thing any of us want. All right. So,
You're a host. You are not allowed to show favoritism. I'm filing a formal protest.
all right. And again, this still works. Listen to the wording, though. I was killed during my first appearance I was thought I would be killed during my first appearance in Star Wars. It was later learned that I would eventually be killed in Star Wars Legends by one Owen Lars. Who am I?
Sorry, say that again.
All right, this is your only repeat. You only have 5 seconds after this, man. It was thought that I was killed during my first appearance in Star Wars. Turns out I was not, and in Star Wars Legends, I was later killed by Owen Lars. Who am I? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
No idea.
Let me take a guess. Hey, let me take a guess.
Well, I'm going to let Johnny take a guess first since he was... Or did you Google it? Be honest.
No, I did not Google it.
Who is
I
it?
have no fucking clue. I mean, I know the story, but I can't remember the character.
All right. Tommy?
Was it Maul?
Bingo! Tommy's got it. That's right. So in Star Wars Legends, Obi-Wan and Maul again face off against one another, and it's
Old wounds.
Owen Lars that puts an end to him, and that's when he
Old
basically
wounds.
banishes Kenobi away from Luke and get lost. We don't want you here. And so they, again, people say that Star Wars current canon doesn't borrow from Legends when in fact they do all the time. Meaning
I'm pretty sure that the comic itself was called Old Wounds and the episode's not called Old Wounds, but there is a line where Obi-Wan says, I need to mend this old wound or something like that.
There is a line like that in Rebels, but I don't know if the comic was called that. If it was, that's impressive. That's a great
I think it actually was, because that name sounds very familiar for a Maul something. I couldn't it could have been a book, but I definitely remember that title.
We will work on overtime rules, but we're at the 2-hour mark roughly of the show, and we can't go over 2 hours. So this is going to do it. Want to give a shout out to some of the people that were in the chat tonight, Frank and Intel, and I see Alberto's in there now, and Michael Q. I know you've been following us in Star Wars Wastelands way back in 2015, and you never miss a beat with questions that I love you, buddy, but simply do not understand. Obi Wan Kenobi, childhood memory still matters on these news media production. I have no idea what you're talking about, man, but appreciate the support that you continue to offer out to us each and every day. If you hear that right now, though, that is our temporary outro theme. This was a lot of fun, guys. I enjoyed this. We'll have a little bit of a post-show meeting for a few minutes before we get the hell out of here. But let's go around the table, see what everybody's up to. Thaden, man, appreciate you doing this. Can't wait for next week. Where can everybody find you at?
Mostly on Rogue Sons. So you just search Rogue Sons, the Star Wars podcast on Facebook, or Google that, or email that Kieran was just holding up, roguesonspodcast@gmail.com. And
Tommy B, brosive. You snuck in your trademark, I guess I'll just go fuck myself line tonight. Interesting timing. Where can everybody find you at, man?
You can catch me hanging around our various Facebook groups and pages, especially Fandom Empire Den. If you want to find me on other means, you can catch me on Twitter and Instagram at TommyB1650.
Awesome, man. Good stuff. Kieran, dude, I couldn't help but think when Tommy was doing his little countdown earlier and he brought up the Maul and how cool Maul is and your recent rant on Maul, I thought you were going to jump through the screen at him and be like, no, but that didn't happen. Thanks for doing this, dude. Where can everybody find you guys at and your other podcast?
You can look us up at Rogue Sons Podcast. That's what comes up. You can hear us on Spotify. You can hear us on Anchor FM. I think we even made it to Apple Podcast, Rogue Sons Podcast. And it's a really fun conversation piece. It's not a lot of news. You're not getting stuff that you're hearing in other places. You're getting our genuine opinions, and sometimes it's a lot of fun.
Awesome. Good stuff. And I got good news for Kieran and Thaden. Because of the way today worked out, when someone wins one of these matches, they have to keep playing. So next week, Johnny will be in the competition again, and we'll all be in studio together, minus Tommy B, who's down in the States. And Kieran and Thaden are going to play the roles of Quizmaster, as Johnny will take on myself and Tommy B. So that'll be some good stuff there. With that said, Johnny did win by the little tiny hairs on his chinny chin. Just Johnny winning. That just doesn't sound right.
I forgot that there was a phone a friend in there, right? That he got the phone a friend used for that?
Hey, there is no rules against hosts opening their mouths when they should keep them shut.
Yeah, no,
Did you say it was the Twilight Dancer? I don't remember Bib Fortuna dancing at any.
Kieran has every right to be a little Wookiee angry with that one, and in no world would I willingly help Johnny win. Just remember that. It was like that Shawn Michaels chair shot to the Undertaker that was meant for Brett, and it's like shit. And Brett ends up winning. Johnny, thanks for doing this tonight, man. Even though you won. Damn it. Where can everybody find you at?
You can find me on any number of projects here on this lovely channel, including but not limited to our recording tomorrow night.
Supernatural Revisited. Might have to see if Kieran can get on that. I don't know if he's got plans or whatever. He's a new viewer who just see Thomas is asleep. He's literally sleeping during the outros.
No.
All righty.
Napping during the show is an option.
These outros are taking too long.
Hey, we're still under the 2-hour mark. So just want to remind everybody that you can subscribe to us on Patreon, where you get exclusive access to our Lampkin Lane AMA show each and every month. It's somewhere here, but I'm not going to look for it. You can also check us out on Twitter at FandomEmpireNow, at SWRenegades, and at StarWarsIRB. And then on Instagram, at FandomEmpireNow, CampHaddonfieldPodcast, and forget the last one because it's actually Star Wars IRB. Kieran Thaden, where can they find you on social media?
We got Rogue Sons, Star Wars. I don't remember what. I don't even remember what.
Uh-oh.
What's our Instagram?
I'm pretty sure our Twitter is at Rogue Sons Pod. That's really just posts when episodes come out. For the time being.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
It's mostly the Facebook, and Facebook is just
is the main.
Rogue Sons Star Wars podcast.
Well, gentlemen, it's been a long time since I talked 2 hours of Star Wars and thoroughly enjoyed doing it. So with that said, 11 o'clock here on the East Coast. We're out. We'll see you next week. May the Force be with you all, except for Johnny, because he sucks. How dare him cheat to win.
And yet I won.